Doctor Who casting news is in again. So I just got home from a really long weekend and I really just wanted to go to bed, but this news broke, so I gotta stay up and shoot this and edit this and get this out while it's still relevant. So we have got casting news for supporting characters for Doctor Who for when Jodie Whittaker starts her tenure as the Doctor and Chris Chibnall starts his tenure as the showrunner. Normally I try and memorize these, but like I said, I am tired. I am just gonna read these. So there are, well, actually there's 4 apparently, but the big news is Bradley Walsh is going to be playing the character of Graham, largely rumored to be the new companion. That is news. It's the first time it's been confirmed. I know his name was getting tossed about before. Bradley Walsh is an actor who I don't really know. Next up, we have Tawson Cole playing a character called Ryan. Tawson Cole was apparently in The Force Awakens. I didn't notice him, so he's also an actor I don't know. And finally, Mandip Gill is playing Yasmin. I don't know this actress either. And additionally, Sharon D. Clarke, who I also don't know, is joining the series as an unspecified returning role. So she's probably almost definitely some sort of Earthbound character that they run into in a couple of different stories. But I think the big thing to focus on is going to be Bradley Walsh, because I doubt we're getting into a multi-companion traveling with the Doctor scenario. It's possible in terms of these other castings, but I doubt they're going to leap right into that right off the bat, because, I mean, we need a chance to get to know this new Doctor, and a quick way to make that difficult to do is going to be to overcrowd the TARDIS, and I think they know well enough not to do that. So, in terms of Bradley Walsh, as I said, I don't know the guy as an actor, so he's very difficult for me to judge. But that said, even if I did know him as an actor, that's not really an indication of what this character is going to be like. So I can only really speak in the broad strokes, which is older male companion. Okay. I mean, the thing is, I should be more excited about this than I am, because it's the sort of thing I've been asking for a long time. I've been saying for years now, I am sick to death of under 30 female from modern Earth. I'm really, really done with it, and this is definitely not that. That said, I don't know, the timing seems a little odd that we have a male companion at the same time as we have a female Doctor. Ultimately, whether or not it works is all going to come down to the dynamic, the chemistry, and the writing. So before I make any possible complaints or suppositions about that, let me say that up front. If this is well written and works, great. I mean, that's what it needs to be regardless. But I can't help but get the slight twinge that they made a male companion out of fear that, like, people were going to go, there's no male presence, and I know there are some people who would have said that. I don't know if that would have been such a strong reaction that they would have needed to do this, but again, I don't know. It just feels like a slightly reflexive move. And that, you know, that said, the only thing that I would worry about at all is if he has any sort of romantic entanglement with the Doctor. Now, I think I was really grateful that there was no romantic angle for Peter Capaldi, even though they went there with Clara and Smith. I don't know why, but I'm glad that that was all gone during his run. I'm hoping that will continue to be the case, because that was another thing I was done with. And thankfully I haven't had to have for the past 3 series now. So I really hope that that doesn't happen. I suspect that they're... Again, I think because of how aware they are of some of the major concerns about the Doctor being a woman, that they won't have her attracted to him. That probably won't happen. Just because that would be an absolute minefield, even if there was a good story reason to do it. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't going to have him attracted to her, and I'm not sure I care about that either. Unfortunately, it's... And this is not necessarily the show's fault. It is just kind of the expectation, because of how these shows always work out, that you put a guy and a girl of a comparable age, and I think he is older than her, but, you know, of what are conceived as compatible ages, and even if people aren't actively calling for them to be put together, it almost seems inevitable. So I think it's going to be difficult to avoid having that vibe seep in on the thing. Again, with the right chemistry between them and the right writing, there are still ways to just have it be very clear that that's not ever going to happen just by, you know, tweaking the way everything functions correctly. But yeah, the broad strokes is this is the kind of change to a companion that I really wanted, although the timing I don't love, because we've already got enough other major changes that it seems like an odd time to also do that big companion change as well. Although, I mean, I suppose if you're changing everything else anyways, why not? I don't know. And that's kind of where I am with a lot of the Doctor Who stuff until we get something more concrete. And like I said, I think the main thing I'm watching for right now is to see a costume on Jodie Whittaker, you know, an official one. Because, you know, the hoodie, that was a placeholder. That was a look that, and it wasn't a bad look. If that's what they actually go with, I have thoughts I'll give on that. But until they lock down and present her in her costume, I really don't think there's enough to go on. And I feel it's much the same way with Bradley Walsh until we see an image of how he actually appears in the show, or maybe if they, you know, give us one of those little sort of clips previewing what the dynamic between them is, which they've done before. You know, they did with Bill and Capaldi. Although when they did that, it didn't work for me, even though I ended up really liking Bill later. I'm setting that aside. Until we get stuff like that, there isn't a lot to judge. It's just names, and okay. You know, it's the sort of stuff that I feel like I have to talk about. It's too big an announcement for me to ignore, but at the same time, I don't really have heavy thoughts on it, because, like, okay, it's another person that's involved in this. It's not enough for me to actually form an opinion on. Again, partly because I don't know this actor. Maybe if I did, I'd have more to say. But yeah, I think I've sort of run circles around that point for long enough. We can leave it at that. So the casting announcements, and I didn't really talk about the other ones. And again, I don't know anything about them. I know even less about how they're going to function in the show. So it's really, really, really hard to say much of anything. Depressingly, I have no doubt that there are some people who are going to make a big deal out of the fact that of these additional people cast, there's two people of color, and please don't. Even if that upsets you, or you think that's more evidence of a bias that you are convinced the show or the BBC has, just don't in the comments, if we could set that aside. But aside from that, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast, also available on iTunes and Stitcher through the Fire and Water Network, fireandwaterpodcast.com. So until next time, hopefully I'll have gotten more sleep. This council is adjourned.